Okay, so this is the entrance to Castle Nathria. This is going to be like a Gothic style castle. I think it's kind of obvious with the entrance. It definitely looks that way. And it is going to be above Revendreth. This raid has 10 raid bosses in it. However, one raid boss we have no info on. My guess is it's the final raid boss. And yeah, but we do have info on the first 9. Okay, so here is a Shriek Wing. So this will be one of the raid bosses. This one is, it's probably hard to tell, but this one is actually a female. This one, as far as the fight goes, I'm not going to go too into depths with these fights because, you know, they'll be testing down the road and we can, you know, check that out later, right? And that'll show you, you know. But for this video, we're just doing a quick overview of the raid bosses. So the biggest thing with Shriek Wing is that there's something called dark sonar. And it says, Shriek Wing emits a series of screeches, creating sonar waves that bounce throughout the chamber. Players hit by a wave will cower in fear for 5 seconds as Shriek Wing descends on them, killing them instantly with murder prey. Next up, we have Hungering Destroyer. Basically, he alternates between casting Eradicate and Consume. Eradicate, it says, inflicts 25,902 shadow damage to all players. Consume, it says that Hungering Destroyer consumes up to 50% of all players' remaining health, converting it into energy for the destroyer based on the amount of health consumed. Also, it says that after several casts of Consume, the Hungering Destroyer will raise its enemies. And raise is one of the abilities, obviously, and it says it begins to unleash its stored energy, inflicting 8634 shadow damage and consuming up to 10 energy. The Hungering Destroyer continues to cast this ability until his energy is depleted. And he consumes all of that energy that's been gained before beginning the assault again. So definitely looks like some interesting stuff going on with this guy. And I think this guy looks really cool. So yeah. Okay, next up we have Eximox or Emox. Unfortunately, I can't give you any info on this because it was written in French or some other language. You know, it doesn't matter what language, it's a language that I don't read. So yeah, I can't give you any info, and I don't feel like translating it. So yeah, but this is another raid boss that we will see. Okay, well, I feel like this guy doesn't really need an introduction, but nonetheless, this is Kel'Thuz, and he has a lot of abilities. I'm not going to really go over them. It is a long sheet of abilities. Yeah, he is definitely going to be probably a little challenging. I'm definitely thinking that he may be further into the raid, maybe closer to the end. Okay, so here's another outfit for him. There's the 2, so I imagine this is probably later on in the fight where he hits maybe some sort of rage stage or something. Okay, next up we have Lady Nerva Darkvein. Basically says that her abilities are directly linked to the anima levels of the containers. As they rise, her abilities increase. Players can lower the levels of the containers by using the anima release valves located around the play space. Allowing any container to reach capacity will trigger a container breach. And it says that the container breach, what it does is the anima container bursts, and it inflicts 17,268 shadow damage to all players. So, yeah, sounds a little dangerous there. Basically, for tanks, it's saying to trigger what's called myocardial rupture away from your allies. Now, this one's an interesting one. It says allies with broken heart will take damage based off the damage you take from heart strike. Broken heart says damage dealt to the victim of exposed desires is copied to the targets with shared cognition applied. And then heart strike is the caster exposes the deepest desires of the target's heart. The victim is afflicted with burden of iniquity for 15 seconds. This is definitely going to be an interesting fight because from how I'm reading things, the tank definitely has to pay attention to not inflict too much to the rest of the party. There's the container breach that explodes. It also looks like there is a anima pool that drops, so that would be kind of similar. I guess when I think of something like that, I think of the Lich King fight. So there's a little bit of info. Like I said, I don't want to go too into detail because it's not like we can go into this raid or even testing can be done yet, but I just thought I'd put a little info out for you guys. Okay, so here is Sludge Fist. Once again, this is in a different language, so we're just gonna check out his look. He is interesting. I do like him. And yeah. I am interested to see what he is as far as the fight goes. Okay, so this is Sire de Nathria. Not really any info on this guy, so just checking him out. Now, one thing that is interesting with this guy is they do say that when the fight starts, everyone in the raid will have this thing called Burden of Sin. And basically what that does is it puts 5 stacks of Burden of Sin to all players. And every 2 seconds, the Burden of Sin will inflict 1 shadow damage per stack. So that's interesting. That could get quite dangerous. So I can't wait to see a little more info on this guy. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed. Once again, this is not all the abilities. You know, some I didn't even have abilities to share with you. And there's 1 raid boss missing. But I just thought it would be cool to share a little bit of info, what we have going on. I didn't want to extend it too long by, you know, letting you know every ability that they have. But this was, like, this isn't even really new info. This is stuff we knew at BlizzCon. I just thought I'd recap it a bit. So what I'll do is, if you're interested in knowing the abilities on those bosses, I'll just, I'll put a link in the description of the Wowhead page that I grabbed this info from. There's ability tab on the bosses that you can look at, and you'll probably see why I chose not to add it in, because it's pretty long lists on some of them. It would have made this video much longer than it already is. So so yeah, definitely check that out, and soon we'll probably see, you know, what the last boss is. I imagine we're not gonna know until testing starts. Then maybe they'll, you know, add that final boss in. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.